Okay, so we're going to talk about CSS specificity now. So when you have conflicting CSS selectors, right? How do you resolve that? Or which one is going to be applied? Hold on. So what would be an example of where you would have conflicting selectors? We just saw one. So right here, right? We're applying an ID and we're applying a class to the same paragraph. Which one is going to rule? Is it going to be red or blue? Well, if we were only looking at something with the same specificity, yo or yo-yo, those are two separate classes being applied to the same element. What's that color going to be? It's going to be blue. Why? Because it's a cascade, right? It's like whatever came last is what's being applied. So they have the same specificity. Blue came last. Blue's being applied. Red got overwritten. Cool. Whatever. So let's see that. It's blue. Okay, now, does this change anything? Does this matter? What color is it going to be? Does that change anything? Yo-yo got applied first. Doesn't change anything. Doesn't change anything. Doesn't change anything. Because the order is determined by the order here in the style sheets, okay? This would change something. That would change something. Now it's going to be red. And it doesn't matter what order it's applied to down below. It just matters what order it is in the style sheets. Okay? So what about now this? What color is it going to be? Red? Red. What about now? Still red. And the reason is because IDs have a higher specificity than classes. All right, so when you look at specificity, think of these as the decimal numbering system. 0 through 9, or more, actually. But this is like the ones place, the tens place, the hundreds place, the thousands place, okay? Actually, this would be like the hundreds. But here you could see 121. Ones, tens, hundreds, thousands. Right? Because we have one ID. So we got one ID here. And we have we have a class, which gives us a class. And we have a pseudo class. This is a pseudo class. And we have one element right here, the anchor. So that rule carries a weight of 121. And up here, this one's just 22. So if these are being applied to the same thing, this one would win. Hopefully you don't get into a place where you're having to like do math on stuff to figure out, okay, that's that specificity. You want to figure out a rule where you're not in that spot, but you should know about this. You figure out a way to write your code where you're not in that spot. So let's look at some examples and do some challenges. Oh, let's look at the first, just the little talk through on specificity. So there's a specificity calculator, and there's a link to it, and you could just Google specificity calculator. Specificity determines which rules applied by the browsers. Specificity is usually the reason why your CSS rules don't apply to some elements, although you think they should. Every selector has its place in the hierarchy. If two selectors apply the same element, the one with the higher specificity wins. There are 4 distinct categories which define the specificity level of a given selector. Inline styles are highest. IDs are next most powerful. Classes and attributes are there, and element selectors are the least. It's the same up here. We have elements, classes, attributes, IDs, inline, right? So inline, the most powerful, ID, the next. When selectors have an unequal specificity value, the last rule is the one that counts, right? So, when they have equal specificity. That's what I said, unequal, when they have equal. When selectors have an unequal specificity, the more specific rule is the one that counts. Universal selector and inherited selectors have a specificity of nothing, right? So star, the universal selector. And this is from Smashing Magazine. I put the source right there. So some examples. All right, what's going to be what color? What color is that P going to be? Just the P. Like if that's my CSS and this is like I have a paragraph element, what's the paragraph element going to be? Black. What's the paragraph of the class of blue going to be? Blue. What's and so we had an element, and that's like, you know, if we have an element, so we just have a P, this will drive it home. We have that weight, that specificity, and if we have a paragraph with blue, we got that. So which one wins, right? Class is going to overwrite paragraph. And then we have P pound red. (101). And then we have P with all that. So we got blue applied and also red. That doesn't really help us much to think about it that way. It will help us to think about it this way. Right? Between blue and also red, and then also you could think in paragraph, right? The also red's going to win. So this will be red, this will be red, this will be blue, this will be black. Let's look at the answer. Okay, and there are their specificities. 1, the class has, that would actually be 1, 0 if you dropped them all in, but and then the IDs have 1, 0, 0 IDs. So I have to be here to explain that a little bit. Do another one. What color is that going to be? What do you think? How many people think black? How many people think blue? How many people think red? How many people think green? Yeah. Green. What color is that going to be? That one's not hard. What about this one? That's the CSS, the way it is in the style sheet over on the right. It'll be red. What about this one? Aha! It's the same little trick I played on you a moment ago. Doesn't matter over here how it's set up. Right? All that matters is the order here. So you're applying blue and red's the last one applied, so it's red. Yeah. No.
Okay, in the book it says it starts from right. That's the order.
Yeah.
And it should be. So.
It should be blue, you're saying?
Yes.
Well, blue and red both have the same specificity. They're both a class, right? So their specificity would be 0, 0, 1, 0. This deal right here.
Yes.
0, 0, 1, 0. And when they have the same specificity, then what matters is the order in which they've been applied in the style sheet, not the order in which they've been applied over in the HTML. Okay? Sorry, that's the same little trick as before, but I want to make sure we're getting it. All right, what about this one? Blue. Same deal, right? Just looking when they have the same specificity, looking at the order in which they're applied. Blue's the last one applied, so it wins. And let's just prove that. Blue.
How is that any different than the last one?
No, not really different.
Oh, no, obviously it's not lost.
Okay, wrap your head around this one. What color is what color is whiskey and ginger ale going to be? Are you sure? Because we have to whiskey and ginger ale, we have applied favorite, but whiskey and ginger ale also has this applied to it because it's an LI, which is inside a UL with an ID of summer drinks. So both of these are being applied to this line. Which one's going to win depends upon which one has the greater specificity, unless they have the exact same specificity, in which case it's just going to be the order in which they are applied, the last one being the one that wins. So the specificity on this one is what? What's the 0, 0, 0, 0? What is it? 0, 0. We could do this. We could do this. Yep. 0, 0, 1, 0. We could do that. Favorite. And then we could also do this. That's going to be a 1 and a 1. And this will be a 100 because it's an ID. 102. Which one's going to win now? What's the color going to be? How many people said blue originally? Yeah. Yeah, so it's all blue because everything in here also, they were made blue. That's bad design on my part. It looked good when I made it. I'll fix that up in a bit. I can fix it up right now. Super quick. That is, show me a height. Let's do 600 pixels. Cool, that's better. Okay, what about this one? Same HTML, but now we have UL pound summer drinks li favorite. So an li with a class of favorite. That's going to select this and try to make it red. And then we have HTML body UL pound summer drinks li favorite. And that's going to select this and make it blue. So which one? They're both selecting the same thing. Which one's going to win? Well, they have different weights. They'd only be the order if they have the same weights. They have different specificity weights. Which one, just looking at it, has the higher specificity weight, and how do you know? Which one has a higher specificity, and how do you know? You should know that just by looking at it. Huh? The second one's got more stuff. It's going to have higher specificity, right? This right here is exactly the same as this right here, and then this one's adding on 1 and 1, right? So this would, because an element is 1, so the specificity on that one is 114, and the specificity on this one 112. And this is 2 more because it has 2 more elements, this element and this element, HTML in the body. So that one would be blue.
Would it make a difference? Would it make a difference if you added more? The example you just gave us, if there were more sections under that one, or is it because of hierarchy? Is that what goes by, like HTML body? But if I was to add more sections under there, even articles, you get what I'm saying? It's like the further you go down, or does it matter because of that HTML?
Yeah, that HTML added a weight to it.
Like anything added after, like you have HTML body and then the UL. But if I put more things in that list, it wouldn't matter. It's by the order. That's what I'm getting. It's like the hierarchy.
So the way you read that is there's something with class favorite, okay, and it has to be an li that has that class, okay, so I'm reading this one, and then it needs to be contained within something that has an ID of summer drinks, okay, and ID summer drinks has to be attached to a UL, okay, and then that has to be within the body, and the body has to be within the HTML. And then each of those things are adding to the weight of this selector. What am I selecting? I'm selecting that. That's my selector to get to this right here. Here's an equivalent selector to get to that same place. Right there is an equivalent selector to get to that same place. I could have just done dot favorite, and that'd get me that same thing. Right? So your selectors can have a whole bunch of different stuff. You want to write them as little as possible, but the more you add to it, the more it gives it a higher specificity, and it's less likely to be overwritten by some other rule. But rules colliding with each other, selectors colliding with each other, becomes an issue when you start getting a lot of code. Does that answer your question? Cool. So that's specificity. How many people found those little exercises helpful and it shed some light into how specificity works for you? How many people feel like I got it now? No problem. Might have to look back at it or look that calculator up. But now I understand kind of, what's going on there.